With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another show with the Single Muslim Live, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com with me, Nazia Khatun. We are here live on Sky 753 and across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube. Wherever you're watching, a very warm welcome, and you too can join us in tonight's discussion and get advice by simply calling through to the studio on 019-24231083. Standard rates apply. Please make sure that you have the bill payer's permission before calling, or why not share your thoughts on WhatsApp in confidence by messaging us on 079-507-97017. And today's guest, we have Zakia Jabeen. I hope I got the name right, all the way from Bradford. And we have a very interesting topic, courtship, attitude and expectation. So welcome, Zakia.
Hi, Nazia. Thank you for having me.
I'm
really excited.
So am I. I'm happy that we're both excited. I'm going to go straight into this topic because it's something that we all speak about. It's something that is a very, very, it's a popular conversation amongst friends, and the expectations that we have when we have first meetings, getting to know someone, the initial stages, or even when we're growing up, thinking about our future spouses and everything. Now, you're an expert in this field. Do you think, the first question, I'm going to go straight into this, so I hope you're ready for the questions.
Yeah, go for it. I got my thingy lined up, my sheet. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
The first question is, do you think men have a higher expectation than women when it comes to the initial stages of coffee dates, courtship, or getting to know someone?
Well, I do feel like men do have like a higher expectation of women when it comes to like relationships and things of that sort, because I think it's just because of like just the growing like pressures of society nowadays. Like, a woman isn't just expected to, look after the house and, look after the kids and cook and clean. It's like now she has to look beautiful and she needs to have a good wage, a good living, to bring money into the house, and like, depending on like the in-laws and stuff, like look after the in-laws and keep them happy. And so if you think about it, that is a huge amount of pressure to be putting on one person. Like, I'm doing a full-time job. Like, I can't imagine like looking after kids, cooking, cleaning, all that sort. Like, yeah, it's just the pressures of society nowadays is completely different to what it was like 20, 30, 40 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I also think maybe in different communities and different races, the expectations of initial meeting, dating, and getting to know somebody is probably different as well. So, for example, in the South Asian community, maybe I'm just saying maybe, it's a very generalized comment as well, a statement. There may be a lot more demands, expectations from men, what they want from a woman in their relationships compared to maybe the English or other cultures or other communities. What do you think about that?
Definitely. And I feel like it stems from like cultural norms and what, we're brought up to identify ourselves with, in essence, like, because we're taught to identify ourselves with how people perceive us, basically, and how good we are to other people. And that in turn, like, especially as women, and being children of immigrants, things like that, it makes us not have boundaries and really like internalize these expectations that are put on us, which ultimately is detrimental to our well-being and our mental health. And sometimes if you're not in it, you can't, and you don't, when you're in it, you can't be objective, about like, okay, maybe this isn't okay, like maybe this is too much. It's kind of just a given that a woman should sacrifice all these things, from like a South Asian culture, for example. But
Wow.
maybe so like other cultures, it's not,
That is very, very interesting. And we can talk about this all day long. What do you think women look for in a man when it comes to the initial stages as well then?
I think was that as women, like, because we are, inclined to be more like, looking for to fulfill our emotional needs, like, just to have someone that's understanding, who's emotionally competent, to have someone that's emotionally competent to, maybe if it's like you come back from work and you just give them one look and it's just kind of like, oh, okay, like, maybe she's in a bad mood or something, like, maybe, it's just, I think it's like to understand and have that emotional literacy, and that competency is so important in a relationship. And yeah, and I feel like through like my friends and just women that I speak to generally, that is an important thing that we do see and we want from a relationship. Because we want to feel valued, we want to feel looked after, cared for. So
Look, we are, even my generation of females and the generation, the younger generation as well, we are very much geared towards being very independent, having a good job, looking after ourselves as well. And I think as females, we have changed maybe our outlook in relationships and marriages, and it's a bit complicated now what we want. Do you think that is having an impact in the expectations as well?
You mean it's just like the complicacy of what we want is having an effect on what we want in our lives?
Yeah, like for example, I have a job, I run my own business, and I have these very, very high demands, the standard of the person I am going to marry. And sometimes it can be very, very overbearing. And I find it's a very common thing amongst my friends now, whereas when I was younger, it was a total different kind of expectation. I just wanted to get married, get settled down, have children, and just be happy. But now I'm looking for something different. And I feel like sometimes it might be a bit too confusing for females like me now.
I totally get what you mean and like where you're coming from. It is difficult now, and like I think in essence sometimes we just make it so much more complicated than what it needs to be. Like at the end of the day, like marriage is supposed to be this union of like two souls, and someone that you spend your life with. And I think we forget that marriage, Islamically it's like half your deen, and essentially we want someone that's on the deen, and like Allah will provide, and and I think we forget that in the whole kind of wanting to control and wanting to. And again, like the expectations now are crazy. Like we want someone who has money, who has status, who has all sorts of things, but when you whittle it down to what's important, it's the person, and it's their attitude, their character, their closeness to God.
100%.
It's that's what it is when it boils down to it. Like it doesn't matter like if he's like really rich, like maybe like 10 years he might not be rich, and like but like if you marry someone that's like not rich, maybe he's just like starting his own business or something, maybe he's going to be really rich one day. You don't know what's going to happen, you can't plan it. And I think it's about like sometimes having that reality check as well and be like, okay, like what's important.
Right. We're going to be going on a break in a bit. When we come back, I want you to keep messaging us on 079 507 97017. Maybe share your stories. What are your expectations? What has happened? What has been the highest thing that you wanted? Maybe you felt like it wasn't being met. What did you do? We want to hear from you. Please share on 079 507 97017. Zakia, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
What do you think are the cultural expectations that families may look for in a spouse then?
So I guess it's like the cultural, if we're thinking about traditional kind of, I know from like a South Asian background, because that's just naturally where I'm from, so I can only speak for that, I guess, for myself. But I guess it's just like having someone, even though like obviously we're trying, like wanting to be more open-minded now, but still like marrying outside of like your own race and like maybe even caste and stuff is still quite like looked down upon, surprisingly enough. Like some like some people say like if I marry someone that's not Pakistani, or who's not Bengali, like if they're Bengali for example, or if they're Pakistani, like their parents wouldn't allow it. And like I guess it's just like we're living in the 21st century, and like obviously we know that all Muslims are equal. But like so race and caste, and then like just the background of that person, like in terms of education, like culturally, parents would want someone who's educated and all that, who's got a good financial background, and then and even when you think about like the tone of the skin tone is something that is still like looked at, and like even high way. I mean, we could just go on here, couldn't we? Like
Zakia, I'm going to stop you right there. We're going to come and join you in literally this break, so please make sure you come back and join us.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Today we're talking about courtship attitude and expectations with our guest Zakia Jabeen from Bradford. Before we go into the second part of the show, we have a caller online. Assalamu alaikum, caller. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. You're live on the show. We would love to hear your opinions, or if you have a question for us.
Yeah, I just want to say we're really enjoying the show, and the questions so far and the discussion has been really interesting.
Thank you.
So our question was, so what do you think, what's your view on sort of getting yourself out of sort of an arranged marriage, and like something that you're sort of being forced into by like either your parents or your elderlies, and how do you sort of get yourself out of that situation when you don't want to sort of tarnish that relationship, or sort of like, sort of disrespect, say, to speak, your sort of relationship or things? We're just wondering what your views are on that.
Zakia?
Yeah, so I guess, obviously that is like a tricky one, but ultimately, like, if you are getting, I guess from what I'm hearing, it's kind of like getting forced into a marriage. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like ultimately, Islam it doesn't condone like a marriage that isn't done with the like with the happiness of a couple, and like if it's done by force. And I think it's important to remember that as well, and like remember that your parents, though you love them and everything, like it's Islamically, if something's not right, it's not right at the end of the day. And obviously, like, I do really appreciate and I empathize that it is such a hard thing to do, and to go against the grain, and to go against people that, like gave birth to you and you loved so dearly. And I think, obviously, like, it is really hard to communicate. And if they want to communicate at all at this stage, but I think it's about really being firm as well, and being firm with your boundaries and stuff, and remembering your rights in Islam as well, because like you're not like powerless, because Islam gave you these rights as a woman and as a human being at the end of the day. So that you can be the best person you can be. And marriage is a big thing. It's half your deen, and yeah, I think it's about like communication, and seeking help if you do need to seek help as well. If it is something that you definitely do not want to do at all, like you're really against it. And I hope that advice was somewhat helpful. I'm sorry if it wasn't.
No, that was absolutely beautiful advice, Zakia. And my take on that is a very delicate topic. We advise anybody who calls in, if you guys are having similar issues like that, please speak to someone, even if it's a counselor, a therapist, because there'll be a lot of conflict trying to please yourself and pleasing family expectations and culture. You have to do what's good for you, but please make sure you speak to someone. And remember, like Zakia said, this is going to be for you and for the rest of your life. And you're going to be bringing offspring into the future, and you need to be happy first. And I hope both Zakia's and my take actually helps you. But please get in touch with somebody that can help you a bit more as well.
And just no worries. And there's like a lot of services as well that are available. If you just give it a quick Google, to help you, inshallah. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
It is, I think, marriage and the topics that are covered. I think this is why this live is so amazing, to make sure that people are not alone and we're sharing things amongst us as well. And we all have these pain and stories that we've gone through, to this narrative that we're born into as South Asian females as well. And I can only speak, and you can only speak about being a South Asian female and your struggle and my struggle. And I'm sure, like many clients that I work with, when they've been forced into marriage, and you see people 20 years down the lane, you see people at the beginning stages of their life in a marriage where they're not happy, and the repercussions it has on them for their mental health, how they love themselves, how they show up in the world as well. So that was beautifully said, Zakia. I want to move on to our questions as well. When I was growing up, I'm going to use myself an example, because it's been a very, very, very sore point for me in terms of in my 20s, trying to please my parents. I'm the eldest out of my family. And in a way, I felt like I didn't have a say in who I married, as long he had a name, he had a good job. What do we actually look for in a relationship when we have so many demands from our parents? For individual, what do we look for in relationships?
think it's ultimately like someone like who makes you happy. I don't like yeah, it's just like it's such a difficult topic around like pleasing parents, and like it is so heartbreaking, and like I can only imagine what you must have gone through. Yeah, and I think it's just like about like I said before, just doing it for the right reasons, and remembering that marriage is a big commitment and is nothing to rush into. And yeah, doing it with the right intention as well. Um, like for like ultimately for the sake of Allah, and like for like to better yourself as a human being, to be a better, to serve the person you marry, and like ultimately like be a source of reward for each other.
Do you think ultimately then a lot of people are rushing into a relationship or a marriage because they're not sure what they want and they're just going along because everybody around them is getting married?
I think like you go like this thing about love is plastered in our faces from like Disney movies to like love songs, and like wherever we go it's like this connotation of being in a romantic relationship and being in love is like we're infatuated with it as a society and as like children, and especially little girls, and having that is like and like seeing that as like, oh, I'm going to meet someone and they're going to save me, and that kind of they're going to save me from this, and they're going to I'm going to be happily ever after I get married. It's such a toxic concept. It's unbelievable. And because in reality, like some people, they get into relationships that are toxic, but they think that it's their happily ever after, and then they convince themselves, and they kind of like they just convince themselves that this is my happily ever after, this is normal, when it's completely toxic, and they just don't want to believe it because they have this ideal within their mind. And I think that relationships are being rushed into, and now more than ever living in such a like hypersexualized society that we live in. And and children not having the emotional competence as well, which leaves a lot of people scarred. So I do think that relationships are rushed into without like the knowledge and the thought that that's needed behind them. But I guess like obviously like some people just know that it's right, and like they do like Sahara and stuff, and like if it feels good they go for it. And I mean ultimately like sometimes you just go through things because it's a test and it's part of your destiny, like to go through it to make yourself a better person. But I think definitely there needs to be like thought patterns put in place, and you need to like really consider it and have precaution, like go do this thoughtfully, because it's not like be your best friend one day and then like not be your friend afterwards.
That's some very, very, very amazing points there in terms of we're rushing into marriage maybe because of what we've been seeing on television with Hollywood expectations and this idea that we're going to be rescued, and it all goes, and you get into real life and it's just like, this is not what I expected. And I think from experience working with people, this is where men and females clash. They don't set the boundaries at the beginning. They don't speak about the expectations. And the keyword I'm looking for is clarification. They don't clarify from one another, and I feel like sometimes it's a mess, and we've lost the meaning with marriage. Honestly, we're going to be going on a break very, very shortly. But what do you think in very, very short three words? What do you think makes a good marriage work, a relationship work?
Honesty, trust, and understanding.
Honesty,
trust, and understanding.
We are going to be discussing this when we come back from break a bit more. If you guys have joined us right now, we are speaking about the courtship attitudes and expectations from relationships and maybe marriages as well. What do you expect in a marriage? What do you expect in a relationship? What are we expecting right at the beginning of getting to know somebody, or even the initial stages of wanting to meet somebody? It's a hard topic, and we are speaking to Zakia. We have so far what men expect from females. What do females look for in a man? There's so much going on here. What are the cultural expectations that families may look for in a man? And what do we look for in a relationship? I would love to hear. 507-970-017. We'll be right back after the break.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Today's topic is about courtship, attitude and expectations. Today we're joined by our special guest, Zakia Jabeen from Bradford. And before I carry on, we have a text come through. Thank you so much for your messages. Please keep them coming. Assalamu alaikum. The topic is actually very interesting. I just want to say the most important thing in marriage and relationship is having trust and respect. So it goes back to what we're speaking about: honesty, trust, and what was your last one? Understanding. Most importantly, having knowledge of Islam on how to treat your wife and husband. A lot of marriages are breaking because of all these social media. Very, very interesting. We all have expectations, but in the end, it's the qadr of Allah what's happening in people's lives. There is so much in here that we can actually cover here as well. But just going up to talking about what your expectations are on a different level, not just aesthetically, not what somebody has to possess, but when we create our boundaries, having honesty, having trust, having respect is also very, very important elements that maybe a lot of people don't adhere to nowadays, that may be also leading to the breakdown of marriages. Why do you think, in your opinion, then, Zakia, it's important to have honesty? Why is it important to have trust? Why is it important to understand one another?
Like, we could go on and on. Honesty, like, is the foundation, the pinnacle of, like a relationship. If you're not going to have honesty, then what are you going to have? Like, if you don't have trust, then what are you going to have? Like, if you don't understand one another, what you're going to have together? I think trust is like super important. Like, just for like insecurities, like you don't want to be insecure. You don't want to be insecure, like, whilst you're with that person, whilst you're married to that person for 20, 30 years of your life. I mean, inshallah, more than that, like probably for the rest of your life, if it's like obviously like a healthy relationship. But yeah, these are like, you want someone to understand you, to like understand the depths of your heart and your soul, and to like understand when you need time away from that person, or when you need like a cup of coffee in the morning, or if you want a certain type of breakfast, then like, not even, I mean, I'm just saying materialistic things, or just like a hug, and like, or just to say the right things. Ultimately, like, this is the person that's going to be with you like until inshallah, you pass and you meet in Jannah, inshallah, and that is a long time, and you want to feel secure, you want to feel loved, you want to feel happy in that relationship. And ultimately, if you don't have trust, if you can't be honest with each other, if you're lying, you're cheating, you're deceiving one another, what is that? Like, you're gonna constantly feel insecure, you're gonna constantly feel hurt. Like, that's not what you want. Like, and you want someone who understands. I think for every human, just to and that, I think that's just something that you'd want from any relationship, not even just a romantic relationship, if you know what I mean. Like, any basis of a healthy relationship, you'd want these three things, just to feel secure and happy within that relationship, whether it's a friendship, or a relationship with your parents. These things are vital.
Absolutely. And I love the religion Islam because it's such a beautiful guideline. And the person who texted us said, if we were to follow Islamic guidelines on how to treat your husband, how to treat your wives, our lives will be so much more simple. And even going out at the first stages of courtship, attitude and expectations is, what should you be looking for? What should you be thinking about? Are you going to be thinking about somebody's money in the bank? Like you said, in 10 years' time, that person may not have all of that money. But characteristics will mean that they look after you. They look after your children. They make sure you're protected, you're safe. So this is something it's a beautiful reminder for myself as well, for the future, and for my siblings and for my friends. Always go back to the basics of what Islam is probably teaching us and has been teaching us for a very long time. So thank you for that, Zakia. This is a very, very interesting question, and it's something I hope text us, message us. I don't want to spoil it, but do you think loyalty has become very rare to find in marriages and relationships now, based on the fact we have access to so much social media platforms? Go for it. Just say it as it is.
Yes. It's just, I guess that like, it's just become so like easy access, I guess. I don't know, like, and I feel like because it's just it's because of these expectations that we keep talking about, these high expectations people have and we have now of relationships, and then like, because of these expectations, people feel unhappy, and from feeling unhappy, you might go to someone else to fulfill those needs or like whatever to make yourself happy, and like, it's just like a cycle now, a toxic cycle, where we just see that, oh, this person's getting like husband's just bought like some like handbags or something, I don't know, and then for men it might be like, oh, my wife isn't as pretty as she used to be or something like that, like, and very superficial examples, I know, but like examples nonetheless. And yes, just a very, very and living in a capitalist society as well, we're very self-centered, we're very like egotistical, like, just wanting to just be happy within ourselves, like sufficient within ourselves, and I think like caring for others isn't really like a priority in itself anymore as much as it used to be.
The word that comes to my head is the instant gratification. We want everything on demand. And I mean, I don't see many people working through the relationships. It's easy to just go and flirt, cheat, have an affair. And it all comes back to this first question of get your expectations, your boundaries clear right from the get-go, so you know what you're getting from each other, both men and females. Like, what do you want from me? How can I serve you as a man to a woman? And the same from a woman to a man. How can I be there for you? What do you need from me? And so it's something that lead up to people being the word, not being loyal. But there's so much we can cover here, isn't there?
Yeah, like, I think it's just like having those healthy boundaries and just knowing what you want from a relationship, and just being honest with your expectations. And yeah, like I guess just working through it as well. If times get tough, like you need to stick it out, and um and it's amazing because I think I was listening to like Noman Ali Khan's lecture, and he was talking about with responsibility is something that we do not like, and it's something that we'd run away from, but from where with responsibility beautiful things happen, like like a relation, like having sex outside of a marriage may lead to like unwanted pregnancy, etc. Whereas sex within a marriage will lead to having children together, leading a family, and both have like this similar gratification, but like the result is completely different, And I think it's about having responsibility as a partner, that you have that ultimately you have a responsibility to your partner to be the best spouse you can be, and be the best person you can be.
Yeah. With responsibility comes happiness. I've never heard of that. So that is something I'm going to write down in my quote book. Just at the top of that, I've been watching something very interesting, which is quite relevant to the show. First, marriages in Australia, and that's an experiment done. But again, having access to so many people around that group of people, how people end up cheating on their partners, even though it's an experiment, it's interesting to watch it from a different perspective, a different angle. So it's something we and actually learn from other good relationships, healthy relationships as well. My next question is, Zakia, does a spouse's financial stability matter? This, in fact, is a very, very, can't talk about question. And it's also the important question. And I would love to hear, like, what is your take? Does it matter when your spouse is not financially stable? Is it the man's responsibility to be financially stable? What role does a woman play in the financial stability?
I think for the financial stability of a partner is important. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not, because it is something that we do look for in a partner. And I feel like it does depend on every person's like situation as well. Like, for example, if it's like, if it's more like the woman, she's got a full-time job at the moment, she's more financially stable, but then the man might be like in between jobs right now and things like that. And then I think like, okay, like I guess it just depends on the situation, doesn't it? And like whether you're in this situation to be able to like take that step with a partner, like get married and things like that. Coming to like the gender role that come with it, I mean, if you're thinking about like Islamic terms, it is like the man's responsibility to provide for the family. And but yeah, like I guess it just depends on the situation again, like who, like obviously, like sometimes people are put in situations where the woman is a provider, and then the man's looking after the house. So I think it's for men it's more like an ego thing as well. Like they want to be, I mean, not necessarily ego, maybe more pride thing, to look after the family and to be protective over them and to be the provider is kind of like an instinctual thing, I guess. I don't know if that was clear, but yeah, I guess ultimately it does depend on the situation.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you right there. We're going to have our last and final break coming up. We have a beautiful question. Does a spouse's financial stability? Please make sure you send us your messages. 017. See you in a bit.
members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Thank you and welcome back. And today's topic, is courtship attitude and expectations. We are joined by Zakia Jabeen from Bradford, and we're going to finish the last segment off with very interesting questions. Now, catfishing, Zakia. Do you reckon catfishing has become more common? I find this I've got so many crazy stories from friends and everything. And catfishing it's just a nightmare story out there, isn't it? What do you think? What's going on here?
It's quite crazy, isn't it? Like people pretending to be other people or just it's just, I guess it's just like people just like insecurities, I guess, maybe, and not feeling. And then again, like the really, like I feel like social media makes it so hard to reach these like really high expectations of how you should look. And I guess like catfishing is just like like people being insecure kind of like of how they look and wanting to find someone that they want to, and like it is something that is on the rise. And
one of the common things I hear from men when they complain about females is the deception of makeup, and another one is we perfected the angle when somebody is not the size that they appear to be on their profile pictures. And then from female, the complaint majority of the time is probably they don't look like the person that they put on the profile. They may be 50 years old and they put a picture of themselves when they were 19. I'm exaggerating a little bit.
Yeah.
But you get in my drift. Do you reckon then social media has actually made us feel insecure? I mean, the pressure of trying to get married by 25, 30, and then we're trying to hold on to something, which can ultimately hinder our mental health as well.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you think about it, we're constantly bombarding our brains with so much information now, or, you know, there's only like, that we can't really process, and we're just like, and all of that is like constantly like comparing yourself. Oh, okay, this person's done this, like they look like this, like they've got this business, they've got that, like, and that is not healthy. That's not healthy at all. It's not healthy to just be looking at a screen all day. I mean, we all know from Zoom and everything. But yeah, the whole concept of it, I mean, social media is based on like the, you know, our innate instincts, like, you know, instant gratification and all that. And like, you know, so that's like the lower parts of the self, like, you know, just to feel good about yourself and things like that. You go on social media, you post a picture, people like it, people comment, like, you know, like, and obviously like, you know, we want to do some good behind that, but then obviously like we need to recognize that, you know, it might be like, what are we actually doing it for, if that makes sense.
100%.
So,
sorry, finish. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it, sorry.
And then this increase, even within our Muslim community, is actually quite toxic with this term, #couple goals, with couples doing fashion trends, whatever it is. And it's like this message, like they're perfect for two. This is why I keep emphasizing to people, they're perfect for the 2 seconds that you see them on social media. We don't get to see the 24 hours. So we have to be careful of who we are looking at as for inspiration and for motivation and what we're looking for as well. I've got a question here. Actually, quite a look one. My question is, what makes a guy loyal? What is something a Muslim man must do in a relationship for his partner? I like this. I like the questions from our male followers, because we don't speak enough about men's emotions. We don't speak enough about men's mental health. What are they looking for? It's all good saying on the superficial level, but this is a very good one. So Zakia, over to you. Repeat the question. What makes a guy loyal, and what is something a Muslim man must do in a relationship for his partner?
I mean, what makes a guy loyal, I guess. I mean, it's different for every person, I guess. Like, but loyalty is something I don't think you can just make someone loyal. I think it's about, like, I guess, self-control, like managing your expectations, and ultimately like being understanding and like compassionate, like, this is a person, and like I was like withstand this relationship because I know this will ultimately be better for me than just like, having like, I know, someone else. And I think some, like, having like a person that is fearful of, that ultimately, like, if I do something that's wrong or against my spouse, like, God's not going to be happy with me and this is not going to please Allah. And, be someone that thinks about their creator and is fearful of their creator, like, obviously, then, like, they will fulfill your rights. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
What is something a Muslim man must do in a relationship for his partner?
I guess it's like obviously fulfilling her rights, isn't it? Like,
Exactly.
like making her happy, like helping out with in the house, and maybe bringing home like a bouquet of flowers, like her favorite chocolate once in a while. I think there's like so many different things, aren't there?
As humans, we are all emotional beings. We all share the same emotions. None of us are exempt from negative feelings, sadness, feeling lost, feeling confused, feeling depressed, or anything. And a good, healthy relationship is the one that checks in with their partners. What can I do for you? If you know your partner likes a certain food, it's the small things that actually make the big things beautiful, that make it grand. You can put the most smallest thing and it could be like, wow. And those are the things that we sometimes, maybe as a society, neglect is the key word, I think, because again, it goes back. What is the social media couples doing? What are they doing? What do I want to do? Am I buying myself Gucci? Am I getting Gucci? Am I receiving Gucci? Do you see?
Yeah.
The second part, we're nearly at the end, but I like this question from this brother. And it's asking, would you prefer your future spouse to save themselves for marriage? It's a very delicate question. We don't speak about sexual intercourse in relationships in Muslim communities enough. It becomes a stigma and it's a taboo, but it's also very, very important for many, many reasons. So the question again is, would you prefer your future spouse to save themselves for marriage?
Like, obviously everyone has their own what they want from a spouse, and like I think it's important to communicate what you want before, like, you get to know a person, and get feelings get involved, things like that. But it's also important to like remember that at the end of the day that was their past, and like God, and if that person has sincerely asked for forgiveness and has repented, and like is a changed person now, like that past isn't something that isn't yours. Like, at the end of the day, I know like spouses share everything, but like obviously that person is an individual, and if they've asked for forgiveness and that's their past, then that's their past at the end of the day. And we can't judge as well as human beings, and only God can. And all we can do is just like really like accept our spouse for who they are, and like, and not hold that against them, and like just remember that we're all human at the end of the day, and someone's past doesn't define them for who they are now. And I think it's like really important that that's like more widespread, because like we are all human at the end of the day. We make mistakes, and that shouldn't stop us from being.
In different cultures as well, like females get a lot of stick with being a virgin. It goes very delicate in different areas. And again, like Zakia said, it's all down to individual. You have to be mature at this to see. Yeah. We're coming to an end. My last question to you now, Zakia, is we're in a pandemic where we come out of the lockdown very soon. Given what's happened in the last 11 months, mental health is actually on the increase. Loneliness is actually leading to mental health issues as well. Now, there's a lot of single people out there. What advice would you give to people who are out and about and looking for love? What will be your top 3 tips? What to look for, what to avoid, all those kind of things?
I think definitely don't rush. Don't rush into something that you're not ready for, or don't do something just because of loneliness and you feel alone, or you feel pressured. You don't want, at the end of the day, you don't want to, you won't need to heal yourself first. You need to heal your own insecurities, your traumas, your childhood issues, things like that, before you get another person involved in that. And yeah, if you need to really ask yourself, is this something that I want for myself? And am I ready for this? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Am I doing it for God, to help this person and to help ourselves to become better human beings at the end of the day, to raise a good family and loving children, I guess. Yeah. Wow. I don't know if that was free though.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important that we talk about this again and again, because people are vulnerable at the moment. We are coming out of here feeling lost. We're feeling fragile. People have spent a lot of time in their own space. So addressing this means we can open up a dialogue. Unfortunately, we have actually run out of time. We've had an amazing discussion with Zakia Jabeen today, speaking about in relationship, initial stages. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you. For me, Nazia Khatun, the whole team. Thank you for joining us. Assalamu alaikum.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.